Alright, what's going on, everybody? Just wanted to show you some special rough build that seems to be getting everybody that I've coached into the next league when it comes to playing against Zerg players. So I want to go ahead and show that to you guys. And I'm looking through some of my replays here. I use it very often, so I don't even have to save the replays. And I know I did WCS literally yesterday. So I know I've used it here before in the game, and I think I used it this game. So we're going to take a look at that. And I know a lot of you were saying, oh, you know, I would love to learn this build because it seems to win every game for a lot of people. And something I really enjoy about this build is that it can stop literally everything in the beginning that Zerg tries to cheese you with. That's what I enjoy a lot about it. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do it. Now, I always wall on the low ground. That's just because I know how to handle 6 pulls fairly well, 8 pulls fairly well, that kind of thing. So I don't really worry about getting cheesed in the beginning. I've had people try to cheese me, but I'm usually pretty successful with stopping it. I want to say I have maybe an 80% chance of stopping it, so that's why I do the wall off on the low ground. But yeah, so you're basically just going to open up very standard. It's going to be a supply depot, barracks, and a gas, all when you have the minerals, and you're going to constantly keep making SCVs. Now, I'm going to pause it for a sec. Basically, this SCV right here is going to build your entire tech tree. Isn't that just crazy? So one SCV is pretty much building everything so that pretty much all your other SCVs can constantly keep mining. So that's what I like about this. So you're going to see exactly what I'm going to talk about here in a sec. I think the only SCV I don't use is the one that builds the command center. That's going to be a little bit different from this SCV that's going to constantly build. So after the barracks is finished, you're going to get your second supply depot, and you're going to make 2 marines. I like 2 marines because 2 is a good number. It allows you to catch overlords on the map if you want to go look around on the map. If your opponent is unfamiliar with this build, and you decide that you want to go to their base with the 2 marines, you can actually trick them into thinking that they're getting rushed by like a proxy 2 Rax. That's what's nice about this too. So really only people on the ladder who have played me a lot would know that it's not a proxy 2 Rax, and that it's just a very light pressure in the beginning for those who want to be greedy and only make drones, because you can hit a timing before a queen comes out at the natural. So as you can see here, the queen has started up, but I already have 2 marines coming down here. Now I'm going to pause it for a sec, because I don't want you to get too lost just because I'm showing you this. After the second supply depot is finished, you're going to drop your factory. And then after the factory, the reactor. The timing is just right because the factory is going to finish before the reactor, but when you consider the timing that it has to lift and then move over the reactor and then drop, the reactor should be finished. So that's why you want to do factory, then reactor with this build. The only time you want to do reactor first instead of factory is when you open up a Reaper. You can technically do the same build by doing the reverse style if you open up a Reaper, but I honestly don't like the Reaper idea, because if you do get one based by like roaches, or if you get one based by a Baneling bust, you'll only have like 2 Hellions, and that can be really hard to stop, whereas I would normally have like 4 Hellions with the 2 Marines instead with this kind of timing, which is what I like about it. So obviously command center goes down after dropping factory and reactor. Now while all that's going on, I have 2 marines over here. So our opponent was a little greedy. As you can see here, he made only 1 set of Zerglings. So 2 marines managed to kill a Zergling. It's chasing drones right now, and now there's some lost mining time for my opponent. Now there is a scenario where a lot of people just metagame me whenever I do this, and they just make 4 Zerglings and kill these 2 marines. It's completely okay. The reason I say that is because if they do that, then I at least know that there is no 1 base coming and that it is 2 base because of the timing of the 4 Zerglings. So that'll give me some time to prepare for like a different kind of related cheese instead of a one base related. So here we flip our factory and our barracks, and this SCV right here builds a third supply depot. So this SCV is building everything, as you can see. The barracks puts down a reactor, and as soon as this SCV is finished, it builds a second factory. So that's the idea here. You're going to go with supply depot, barracks, supply depot, factory, supply depot, factory. Okay. And over here, the only other things you built with a different SCV is just your refinery in the beginning. You're going to stay on this one gas for a long time. And then with this barracks right here, or not barracks, sorry, this command center is what is going to be built by another SCV as well. So now, as you notice, I sent 2 Hellions out right here. You're probably wondering, well, why would you send 2 Hellions by themselves instead of actually sending like 4 Hellions? Because, you know, you can actually one-shot drones instead of trying to just 2-shot them. The reason I send 2 is because it's safe. If you wait for 4 and those 4 Zerglings that came out ended up killing your 2 Marines, you didn't really get any scout off. The only thing you scouted was that they did take their natural. There is a timing where you can die from a 2-base roach push, where they cut drones at the natural and kind of trick you. I've lost to that a couple of times because I've waited for 4 Hellions. So the idea is to go with 2 Hellions. It'll allow me to see if it's a 2-base Bane bust, or because then I'd be able to tell how many Zerglings there are, or if there's Zergling speed immediately, or it'll tell me if there's a 2-base roach bust. So that's the thing behind these 2 Hellions. This is one of those rare maps, though, that if I decide to, I don't necessarily have to go into the natural to tell if that cheese is coming. I can always just sit here at the tower with these 2. The only way they'd be able to get away with the cheese is to literally walk all the way around. And if they do walk all the way around, then chances are I might just be able to get my tank out in time. So that's what's nice. But here I decided to just play it normal. I'm not going to wait for 4 Hellions. I'm going to go in because I want to see if I am getting cheesed or not. This is super important. So right here, I see about, I don't know, it's quite a bit of Zerglings. I'm like, whoa, that's actually a lot of Zerglings for the beginning, because usually what ends up happening is they'll defend with queens. They might have 2 queens down here to natural, and then they might have like 4 Zerglings. But I'm actually seeing a decent amount, so I'm like, there's a chance that he might be cheesing me, right? With maybe a Baneling bust. Not 100%, because this, even though it's a lot of Zerglings, it's not as many as it could have been. So this is where I'm just a little bit weary. I'm not going to go out on the map just yet. I'm going to be like, okay, I need to just sit back tight and see what's going on here. So I'm going to do my normal timing now, instead of trying to go out of the map. Make sure that there's no cheese that's going to come and hit me. So here we go. So what have you noticed? I've built maybe another supply depot. So at this point, it's a matter of just keeping up with supplies, building more SCVs. You're not building any more tech structures. These are the only 3 you're going to use. And just constantly making Marines, Hellions, and tanks, only when you can afford them. Tank is priority, though. There might be times where you're going to drop supply depots, building SCVs, trying to keep up with the SCVs, and then you might have to cut maybe 1 Hellion out of the entire time that you're producing these units, but it's okay. What's important is always get this tank out, and off of 1 gas you can always make 1 tank constantly. But the thing is, you don't want to go ahead and stick on 1 gas for too long. The reason why is because you need an armory. So when the tank is, usually when it's halfway done, I throw down the refinery. I'm a little late here because I was worried about a Bane bust, so I wanted to get more Hellions out. But I noticed that, hey, there's something wrong here. I already got my tank out. It's sieged up. Let me go ahead and get that gas now. So that's when we get our second gas, usually when this first tank is halfway complete. Okay. So, you notice still just a bunch of Marines, Hellions, and getting the other tank out. And now, when you have the gas after you've started your second tank, don't build a third tank. You only need 1 or 2 tanks. This, you're going to start your armory next. The reason you want to start your armory is because you're going to move out on the map, and you're gonna go all the way up to where the creep is, but you're not gonna go on the creep if you can help it. You can go with your Hellions ahead just to kind of see what's on the creep, see how many queens there are and whatnot, and then pull back. It's completely fine, because then the Zerg probably shouldn't suspect there's anything wrong. They'll probably be like, oh, you're probably going mech. That's the only thing that they're gonna think. So, you're gonna go out. You'll notice that I'll pull a couple SCVs, not too many, just enough to do a little bit of minor repairs on your Hellbats and tanks. And we're going to go out ahead. So if there's a Zergling at the tower, the first thing they're going to see is only Hellions. And they're going to be like, okay, it's Hellions. I just need to defend at my ramp, I need to pull back, or I need to attack with my queens, so this is what's going to happen here. He's like, okay, it's just Hellions, I'll just deflect it. I'm off creep right now. And then he's like, oh, okay, whoa. What is all this stuff? What is all this stuff? So you notice that I'm engaging right now a little bit because he pulled the queens off. As soon as his armory finishes, though, you're going to go straight into Hellbats. Now, here's the thing, though. It's 9 minutes into the game. 9 minutes is usually when a muted timing hits. And there you go. There's a Spire right there. Right? So that's what you have to worry about. Now, if you notice that they cut Ling speed in the beginning, assume that the Spire is coming a lot sooner. That means hit when you have 1 tank. If you see that if you see Lings with no speed and you see no roaches, assume immediately that the Spire is coming sooner than this timing right now. So that's when you want to hit a little bit earlier instead. You want to hit with 1 tank and then drop the armory and skip the second tank. So you'll notice that that's the trend that I like to do on the ladder. I don't know if I have a replay of that because that's usually only with European players that I see that. I don't usually see that on NA where they skip the Ling speed. But if you do see it, that's something to take into consideration. So here, the timing is going to be normal. This right here, this is pretty standard. You'll notice that a lot of Zerg players, they'll get a Baneling nest and they'll only defend with Banelings and stuff until their Spire is complete, and then they'll go with mass mutas on 2 bases. So you notice this guy is actually banking up a lot of gas, but he's going to try to sit here and defend with Banelings. This is probably the hardest thing to attack into with this build, primarily because Banelings are pretty good versus it. Now, the thing is, though, if you split, you should still kill your opponent. So you just have to split here when this happens. So I'm going to go up and be like, okay, what are you doing here? And I'm going all the way in, even if I take a couple hits from the spine crawler. And you'll notice here I see a Baneling morphing. I'm like, oh, okay, he's got Banelings coming. So guess what I do? Even though I have the armory, I don't morph into Hellbats. The reason why is because then I can pull back with my Hellions, and they're not all going to die to a bunch of Banelings, right? Because I don't know how many Banelings are over here. If it's just a couple, then yeah, I wouldn't mind morphing into Hellbats and splitting, but I don't know how many's over here. So I'm going to keep them in the Helmium mode, and I'm going to siege up immediately, since I saw it. So then the tank sieges up. You'll notice that spines and stuff will go down fast in this attack. Same with queens. This is what I like about this build, because it's not just only Hellions, so queens don't die. They'll actually die to this. So now there's a bunch of stuff coming out. This is super normal when doing this build. Pull right behind the tanks. Pretend like you're playing Wings of Liberty. Let the tanks be the buffer to doing this build. So you notice that like none of the Hellions died, and I'm okay in this situation. I'm like, okay, you know, you've got mostly Lings and Banelings. I'm not worried about anything at all. Let me go ahead and morph now. After engagement, you can morph, because that means that there's not going to really be any Banelings. And I target down the Banelings because I know that he's just now morphing new ones. And they're all down. And we go right into the base. So this attack is extremely powerful. Now the funny thing is, my opponent did not expand, and because he did not expand, he actually had more than he normally would. So that's the thing here. He actually had more, but because my engagement was so cost effective, that it didn't matter if he did take a third or not, right? So I was still able to get into the base and possibly win this game. Now I'm going to pause here, and we're going to go back home. There's a couple options that you can do. The first option is if you do a lot of damage, you can go straight into a big mech 2-base timing. It's completely up to you. Another transition that you can do is get a third command center behind the attack. And you'll notice that I put up some missile turrets. I dropped an eBay when I dropped when my armory was halfway complete, because that's when I move out. The reason you want the eBay is just in case the Spire does complete and they do get mutas out. Chances are you'll probably kill the natural, but then there's going to be like 12 or 14 mutas out on the map, and they're going to be stuck only on one base. That's when you should have been producing Thors and Widowmines. Now, I'm not sure if I have a replay where I showed a Thors and Widowmines, but we're going to try and look here if we do have one. I think I've done it versus Pig before, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to scroll down. We are going to look. Let's look at some old replays from June. That's last month. Let's see if we have something here. I probably don't save these replays though, that's the thing. Okay, probably not. So let's go back to recent. And I'll show you another game. Let's see here. So I know I did it in a different game before. I'm not sure versus who. Yeah, I think I do it here. On Coda again. So we're going to speed up, since I already discussed how the build order is. If you need to refer back to the build order, you can just go ahead and look at the rewind on this VOD, or this video. Okay. So one SCV builds everything except for this refinery and command center. Yep. Same wall off, same build. So my opponent, he's doing the roach timing this time, right? So you notice that I went out with 2 Marines. They managed to come back alive. They scouted that there was a natural, and it ended up killing 2 Zerglings, I believe. But then when the Queen came out, why am I putting down a bunker? Let's rewind this. I must have saw something. What did I see? There's got to be something that I saw. Okay, 2 Marines are going, right? So what do these 2 Marines see? I killed 2 Zerglings. That's what happens right there. I think what it was is that I did get all in the last game, so I might review the last game because I did the same build there as well. So that's probably what it was. So that's why I built a bunker. I just wanted to play extra safe. So you can build a bunker if you want to play extra safe. So that's what I did there. So there... Oh, that's what it was. Okay. So you remember what I was talking about in the last replay. Is right here. The 2 Hellions are moving out on the map, right? Recall what I was saying about the 2 Hellions. They will tell me if there's roaches coming to my base, or if there's going to be a Baneling bust. That's what I was talking about. So that's why I send these two Hellions out. So these two Hellions are going. And you notice I don't have a bunker. Not yet. This is where I'm going to notice that I'm going to need a bunker. So I go and I'm like, oh, he blocked with the queens. Let me go down to the natural. Oh, whoa. Roaches. Roaches. That's some early roaches. But that's why the Hellion spotted it. Because I sent them out. Immediately bunker goes down. That's what you want to do here. So this Hellion's going to run back home. Or I'm going to flank around. I'm going to do a small counterattack. And I'm going to defend with the bunker and a couple widow mines. So that's the nice thing about this. Throw down a bunker and start making some widow mines. And you should be able to defend this. Now we're going to go in and try to kill some drones here. In the natural, as you can see. While this is going on. So he manages to get in. Maybe I should have put my bunker right here. It would have been better, right? So that was not the best bunker placement. It should have been where the widow mines are. And then I lock out his other roach. By building an add-on. But guess what? Guess what's here? The siege tank. That's all you need to deflect this. Get the siege tank out. That's the nice thing. The tank gets out. Since he was about to target down the tank, I start repairing it. Then we deflect that attack pretty easily. Cheese deflected. Right? Still have the Hellions outside of the base. Gonna sneak back in, see if there's anything else that I can roast up. Get some more drones. There we go. Did some good damage, and he didn't really get much damage done because of the cheese, right? So now, I didn't go for my normal timing because I knew that he did a 2-base roach that was early, so there's no pressure to attack because I'm not worried about, what do you call it? I'm not worried about Mutalisk, right? The only time I want to do a timing attack is if I know that he hasn't attacked me with a Baneling Bust, and he hasn't attacked me with roaches, and then I'm like, okay, now I need to attack. So I go for a 3rd tank instead, and then I get my armory, as you can see here. And now we're going to do another big push. And these are going to also be Hellbats, Marines, tanks, a couple repairing SCVs, not too many, like between 2 to 4 usually, and then a bunch of Marines. So these kind of attacks are really nasty and really strong. This combination. So we're gonna go right up in here, and it's like, okay, so you roached me. I think it's over, right? There's no way that they can come back because they tried to all in and it failed. Okay. Now with that said, we're gonna look at the last replay. Same build, different game. I do this a lot on the ladder, primarily because it is super, super, super safe versus everything. Even a 1-base Bane Bust, because you get the factory so early. Whereas with a Reaper, you have to have a bunker down, or you will lose if you open up Reaper. That's why you don't see me open up Reaper versus Zerg often, unless I'm doing more than one Reaper, like a cheesy 2 Rax reactor or something, you know, or a Planetary Rush that you guys all have seen before. Okay, it's the same build, but notice the difference. I'm actually walling on the high ground this time. I wanted to play a little safe versus this guy. I didn't know how he played, and I was like, I haven't played him before. He might 6-pull me. So let me just do it on the high ground instead. But the build order is still the same. Get the reactor up. You noticed that I didn't go to a base this time because I was a little bit worried that I might get cheesed since it is an important WCS match. Now I start walling on the low ground. Take my low ground. But I decide I'm going to build the reactor on the low ground here. I'm not too worried about it. So if they come with a couple Zerglings in the beginning, it's okay, because your Hellions come out insanely fast, because you're not getting a Reaper. I'm even walling off completely at the bottom here, with all my structures if need be. I don't care if he sees it or not. I know this build is good. So we're going to have that walled off. Command center is going to float down soon. And you notice the build order is exactly the same. I decided that I'm going to go with 4 Hellions this time. I'm not sure why I decided to do that. I guess I wanted to gamble a little bit and say that, oh, he tried a Roach Rush the first game. There's no way he's going to Roach Rush the second game. I think that's why I decided to go with 4, because 4 can do a lot of damage. But he had a Spine, he had a bunch of Queens, and I noticed that he has tons of Zerglings. When I see tons of Zerglings, I'm thinking, oh man, instead of doing a Roach all-in, it's probably going to be a Baneling bust this time. So let's see what happens here. So still constantly making stuff. Oh, okay, never mind, never mind. This is a little bit different. Let me pause it. So there's a different kind of small transition to this exact same build that you all are going to see here. Instead of making a tech lab with the factory and the barracks with the reactor, with Marines and stuff, I'm going full out Hellions. Reason why is because of the number of Zerglings I saw in his main. I knew that he wasn't going to get roaches. So this is a reactionary base play, because I'm assuming a Bane bust is coming, that's why. So if you want to be even safer, you can do this only if you know that there's going to be a Bane bust coming. So now it's going to be nothing but mass Hellions, or Hellbat. So you'll notice that because I'm not committing to siege tanks, that means I can get my armory sooner. And you notice that my timing is around 8 minutes because I'm worried about a early Spire. But he doesn't go in early Spire, surprisingly. So I'm kind of just sticking around a little bit because I don't have the armory just yet. I'm not going to commit. I'm going to try to pick off like this Roach Warren, because I notice he's going to want to get roaches out. Then we go into Hellbats, and then up. No Banelings? Oh, too bad. Get the Roach Warren down. I don't have to worry about roaches anymore. And I can just go mass Hellbats. And let's just say 2 factory reactor Hellbats, so you can produce a lot of Hellbats. And there you go. So didn't even have to worry about anything. So that's another reaction that you can do if you see tons and tons of Zerglings. You could just go straight into mass Hellions. That's something to consider as well. Same exact opening, double factory. So, oh, I'm actually happy about that. So it says on my screen, famed TvZ 2 factory / Rax timing. It doesn't say tank, Hellbat, Marine timing, right? So as you can see, there is another transition to it. I just showed you that transition. If you guys want to do the mass Hellbat, you can do that as well. Alright, well I think that's good enough for the video. You saw a Spire scenario where you hit a timing before a Spire comes out. You've seen a scenario where you get roached and you have the tank come out. And then you've also seen a scenario where you're dealing with like a bunch of Zerglings in the beginning, potential Baneling bust, which means that you're going to go with a bunch of Hellions. So if you like this stuff, I highly suggest to use it, because I know that you all will do really well in your ladder matches if you use this build. Alright, so I'll catch you all later.